Good afternoon. Welcome to River Landing Conversations. I'm Kay Heflin here with my co-host Jim Kalacki. And today we are excited to have our new nurse practitioner, Amber Clapp, as our guest. Welcome, Amber.
Thank you.
Why don't we start this off with the story of where things begin? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Northeast Ohio, but I was born in Michigan and lived in Florida before that. But I did most of my growing up in Northeast Ohio, about an hour south of Cleveland, close to Akron. And then I lived there until I was 22, 23, and then I moved to North Carolina.
Okay.
And I've lived here for about 19 years.
What brought you to North Carolina?
Oh, a boy.
Okay. All right, enough said.
Who is now my husband.
Oh, okay. That's a good ending to that part, yes.
That was the originally, and then schooling. Also, it was cheaper here than it was in Ohio, and I was paying for it myself. So I decided to go where it was cheaper. I just had to live here for a year first before I could, start going back to school. But anyways.
Well, tell us a little bit about the training. What all did that schooling involve, and where did you do it?
Well, I started off with my associate degree as a nurse, and I got that at GTCC, which is in Jamestown.
Right.
And after that, I went to get my bachelor's degree in nursing, and I did that over at Winston-Salem State, which is in Winston-Salem. And then I went to UNCG and got my doctorate as a nurse practitioner in Greensboro.
Good.
So and this is over the course of several years. So I graduated in 2011 with my associate degree initially, 2013 with my bachelor's degree, and then 2019 with my doctorate.
And lots of work, I assume, in between or along the way.
Yes. I spent most of my nursing career in the emergency department. I used to work at High Point Regional when it was High Point Regional, now it's High Point Medical Center. And then most recently, Kernersville Medical Center in the emergency department, both places.
How did you find out about the job here?
So I was working as a nurse practitioner over in Jamestown at an internal medicine clinic, and I was told that this position was going to be opening. I knew about River Landing previously because I was a student here in 2018.
Okay.
We did I was here in the fall with Holly, and Destiny and Mary and Trisha, who was here at the time. And I did my rotation through here, and I thought, well, this is such a lovely place, and I think this would be just such a nice place to work. I have to find some place like this. And so I ended up hearing about it, and I thought, well, I'll get to go work with Holly, because that's what I thought. I thought they got busy enough, they need another provider. How exciting. And then unfortunately I learned that Holly was leaving. But still loved the place when I was here, and so I applied.
Good. We're lucky we made a good first impression then.
Yes, you did. You really did.
So just carrying that on, what is a day in your life at River Landing like?
Well,
or let's say a 24-hour period, because I suspect days may not be quite easily divided into 9 to 5 or something.
Yeah, so a typical day, I usually come in the morning. Don't always have my first cup of coffee before I see somebody, but I try to give me that little boost of energy. And then, I'll go through and I'll see the patients, and I try to, spend the time that I need with each one. that's necessary, and I kind of, bounce from room to room, seeing each patient, and I may have phone calls or emails, messages through the MyWake portal that I respond to, or prescription refills, labs to review. There's a lot of behind the scenes of stuff that needs to be done, other than just seeing a patient, ordering tests and things like that. So, or calling insurance companies and trying to get them to order the test I want, or even trying to find ways of getting a medication for a patient who may not be able to afford it, or trying to find some sort of discount card. There's a lot of work, behind the scenes work of my job.
Yeah. And one of the things that strikes me as you're talking is you must have quite a task to keep your own network, your own referral network, I guess, alive and well, so that if I come in and I've got some peculiar ailment, that you know someone in X over in Kernersville or somewhere, Greensboro. How do you keep that up? How do you?
Well, I don't always know somebody for sure, but it's very important, and I learned early on in my career to know your resources and to know who you can find information from. I don't know the answer to everything, but I might know a contact who does know the answer for me to help my patients out. And that's always been an important thing to realize, is to know, who you can call if you do not know.
Yeah, and presumably that they're a good source.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's probably somewhat of an issue too.
Yeah, and I have worked. So when I worked at High Point Regional as a nurse in the emergency department there, I got to learn a lot of the specialists in the area. Some of them have retired since, but I have got to learn, a lot of those specialists, because they would come and see patients, and which ones I, personally didn't care for. We won't mention any names,
Indeed.
but or which ones I felt like, they were really good with the patients and things like that.
How could you tell us a little bit too about the clinic here? Because you said you see patients, and are there other people? Well, why don't you just describe what the clinic is like and how it's set up?
Okay. So the clinic is open from 8:30 to 3, Monday through Friday. Tuesday mornings, Dr. Piazza is there from 9 to 12. Other than that, I'm there the rest of the time to see patients. We have Casey, who is at the front. She answers the phones. She makes the appointments. She helps with a lot of the paperwork, the faxing and receiving and things like that. The insurance stuff, getting that stuff in the computer. She does a lot of things like that. And she takes messages for me, which is very helpful. And then we have Melissa, who's the nurse, and Liz, who's a CMA. Liz is new to the clinic. She's been here a month or two. She's really sweet medical assistant that's working with us. But either Liz or Melissa would bring the patient from the lobby back into the clinical room and get vital signs, ask them some basic questions of why they're there, screening forms if we need to do that. And then after that's all done, then they let me know what's going on, and then I go into the room and I see the patient. The clinic is set up as a normal doctor's office, like in a normal internal medicine office. So we do the chronic visits, the Medicare wellness, the annual visits. We do acute things. So if somebody has a cold or they hurt their arm, they can come see us. We have it set up, we're a little bit more special of an internal medicine office, because not only do we see the patients who belong to us, but we can see anybody here at River Landing. So if let's say you don't come see me, but your doctor is in Greensboro and they can't get to see you until 2-3 days later, more often than not we can do same-day appointments, and I can see patients as an acute urgent care type of visit during our business hours.
I'm so glad you said that, because one, I think about that myself. I'm exactly in that situation.
Yeah.
And but I'm sure others are too, that they break a toe or something like that happens. And what do I do right now?
Yeah,
So
yeah, you
that's
can
so
definitely
reassuring to know.
utilize our clinic for stuff like that. We also will draw labs for other providers within the Wake Forest network. So they don't have to necessarily go to their cardiologist at Wake. They can just come to our clinic, because we can open those labs up, because we have a miniature lab in our clinic where we can draw those labs and get them sent off.
How cool, great.
So we do quite a few things there, and we're also limited too. We're limited, I would say mostly probably by our hours, but I think for the most part we can take care of most issues during that time.
And roughly how many people would you see or would pass through the clinic in a week or so?
I would say probably 50 to 60 people come through the clinic.
Yeah. Are most of those acute management or just regular follow-ups and wellness checks?
I would probably say 2/3 are probably chronic and routine visits, whereas the other third's probably acute.
Okay.
And the other thing that I wonder too is, do you have, with the other health facilities that are here, is there any interaction between you all?
So there is, to I guess a certain degree. For an example, I had somebody who needed an orthopedic visit sooner rather than me just putting a referral in and waiting a few weeks. I needed them to go in. And so I called the clinic and I said the situation and what's going on, and I really would like them to be seen. And so there's interaction like that, but it's because healthcare is just so crazy busy all the time. It's hard to make those personal calls all the time. So a lot of our referrals are electronic, or they get faxed, which is fine for most people. But there are those exceptions where I need to pick up the phone and I can make a phone call and get somebody in sooner.
Did you always want to be a nurse?
Well, when you're a child, I think I wanted to be probably 1 million different things. But I remember saying I wanted to be a nurse, and I wanted to be a doctor, and I wanted to be a teacher. And then I went through high school, and I thought, I cannot handle these brats. All these brats who give the teachers a hard time. I cannot handle this. So that my senior year was the final straw, and I decided I'm going to do nursing.
Okay.
My aunt went through nursing, and I enjoy helping people. I really enjoy listening to people and trying to figure out a solution to whatever might be going on for them. Or if I can't figure it out, figure out a way to help them figure it out. So I've always enjoyed that part, and I was always interested. I was the kid that, this is going to sound horrible. Please don't look at me differently. But I would be that child who would see, an animal that, was dead. And I'm like, oh, well, let me take a look at what's going on with this dead animal here. Or I lived in the country, so there was a lot of outdoor play and exploring. And I was also that person who would find, like my dog one time attacked a bunny's nest. And there was like 6 little bald bunnies in there, you know?
Yeah.
So I took them and tried to raise them, and I'm pretty sure I gave them all pneumonia and they all died. But I was also 8. But they, you know, I was always trying to fix things and make it better, you know? So it was, you know.
It was a natural fit.
It was a natural thing, and it was what I was supposed to do.
Good.
Need.
You've been here at River Landing for how many months?
Oh, about 9 months now.
Okay, getting close to a year.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite memories that have stick out in your mind during those 9 months?
I think we've had a lot of adjustment in the clinic. You know, we've had a lot of changeover, and myself included. So there's been a lot of that, but it's been all good stuff. It's been positive stuff, you know, and everyone's been real nice. And I will say that something that sticks out in my head, and probably will always stick out in my head, was the time that I was a student here and was working with Holly. They all dressed up like the Wizard of Oz, and I just happened to have a witch costume. So, so I was able to, you know, jump in that costume and play the part. And I just thought that was, I don't know, that was really just a neat thing that River Landing did, where they did the Halloween costume thing. But something in particular, like I said, it's just been a big, we've just been doing a lot of adjusting and trying to make things run, you know, appropriately, and trying to make sure that we're following all the rules, because there's so many rules. But yeah, I mean, it's been good.
Good.
Do you have a surprise that you've experienced at River Landing?
A surprise. I guess, what do you mean surprise?
Or something, if you think of, wow, gee, I never thought of that, or never expected that, or...
I am learning so much about, so my clinic here at River Landing is all the independent living patients. But it crosses over to rehab or assisted living or the skilled nursing. And I'm learning so much about that part that I didn't know. I don't know if that answers your question, but that that is a whole new learning experience for me. You know, when I first became a nurse practitioner, I had to learn outpatient stuff, right? It's totally different than inpatient. I'm used to getting what I want now. Everything's stat in the ED. And, or, you know, in the emergency department, everything's stat. But outpatient, it's not like that. So that was a big adjustment. And I'm still adjusting to that because of having to do stat for so many years. That's what I know. But since I've been at River Landing, that has been something that I am continuously learning, is, you know, how things work out, you know, out in the skilled rehab and assisted living environments.
All right. With all that you do here, what do you like to do on your, quote, off hours?
So right now, because we're in school, I do a lot of 3rd grade homework with my daughter. But fun stuff. We like to go hiking. We like to take trips places and see new things. We are getting ready to go to Asheville. My daughter's in gymnastics, so she's doing gymnastics meets, and that's new for us this year. So she's, you know, going through learning and trying to figure out how to perform. And
Cool.
but yeah, we like to do a lot of outdoorsy stuff. Throw rocks in a pond, you know,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Explore. I mean, but that's what I did as a kid. So
Yeah.
you know, and I only have one child, so you know, I'm her playmate.
It gives you a good excuse to
That's
stay
right.
young,
That's
right?
right.
Yes, yes.
One of the questions that we've asked fairly regularly with visitors on this program is 3 people who you might like to meet, or if you had the chance,
Yeah.
that you'd like to have a visit with,
Yeah.
and without all the details of time and the fact that it's 1,000 years ago or,
Right.
or whatever. Do you have some people like that in your repertoire?
Yeah, you know, I thought about that question, who I would want to meet, and really the only people that come to my mind are my relatives, you know, my grandparents. You know, I was fortunate enough to have them for so long in my life, almost 40 years. I just told my age. You know, I've had them for a long time, and then within a few years, all of them passed. And so that's been a big adjustment. But, you know, it's even if you've had some time to spend with them, you always think of things
Yes.
that you want to talk about or ask them, or you know, oh, I'll just call Oma.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're like, oh, you know, it's kind of brings you back that, you know, Oma's not here. You can't just call her anymore. Or I found a recipe to make dumplings, homemade dumplings of hers, and I had wrote down, you know, 2 to 3 cups of flour. Add a little water, a little salt. I'm like, what kind of recipe is this?
Yes.
You know? But that's how she told me,
Yes.
and that's what I wrote down.
And thought you could do it then later, right?
And I ended up making them, and they tasted fine. I don't know how I did it,
Good.
but I'm sure she helped me.
Yeah. Little guidance from above never
Little
hurts.
guidance from above. That's
Yes,
right.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think family, I mean, I don't know. I can't, I mean, I don't know. If you're giving me only 3, it would definitely be family. But if it was unlimited, there would be several others.
Do you have a favorite type of music that you enjoy or listen to?
I listen to all kinds of music. All kinds. I'll listen to classical. I like instrumental. It depends on what I'm doing. You know, if I'm trying to clean the house, I need some energy. So, you know, there might be some rock music in there, some 80s music, something like that. If I am trying to focus and work and write charts and concentrate, I like to listen to instrumental music. So it just depends, but I listen to all sorts. I like classical. I listen to everything, 50s, 60s, everything.
And do you have sporting interests?
I do. I was coaching my daughter's soccer team for a little while. I played soccer when I was younger, and I did dance and things like that. But I still enjoy those sports. It's just finding the time to do them. So I would say probably the most activity I do is walking, right? 30 minutes, 5 days a week will keep you healthy.
Yes, nurse, thank you. Duly reminded.
But I mean, hiking is probably one that I like to do when it's warmer.
Yes.
Just even if it's, and I say hiking, I'm talking about walking around Salem Lake or
Yeah.
the Greenway. But not so much. We do some mountain hiking stuff, but not as frequently because it's more strenuous and you have to be more prepared and more in shape.
Just a little bit.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Anything we didn't ask today that you thought we might inquire about?
No, I don't think so. I think that, I think we went over quite a few things here today.
Okay, good. Well, we
there something-
definitely enjoyed having you with us today. And we want to thank everybody out there for joining us this afternoon. And we have a special thanks to send out. This is probably the last conversation that Brian will be recording for us. And thank you, Brian, so much for your support. Things couldn't happen without you, and you will definitely be missed. So we hope to see you again next Friday at 3 o'clock for the final conversation for this year. And then Jim and I will be starting again with interviews, the first of the year, that we can send to you later. Thank you.